So many of our favorites to watch. Oh look, now they're being bashed. I guess that's what we should expect on the Bullied Nostalgia Podcast. Don't let the theme song fool you. This is not the Bullied Nostalgia Podcast, where we take a look at movies from our childhood with our nostalgia goggles removed. I'm not sure what this is, but I'm Tim, and I'm joined by Kai.
Heyo.
Chance.
Hello.
And John.
Hey, a couple of years back, we did something known as Fast and the Furious 35, which was train wreck. And because apparently that was the funniest train wreck we've ever taken part of, my dad has deemed it suitable to do another one of his crazy, zany adventures, which should probably lead to our eventual downfall.
Yeah, if we ever do this again, maybe John and I will write a theme song specific to it. But in the meantime, we'll jump into this dumpster fire. On today's episode of the podcast, we each used a random movie generator to pick a movie to watch. No one knows what the others have watched, so we'll try to figure that out. But more than anything, we're just hoping to have a fun conversation where everyone is talking about different things. So, to start us off, Chance, the movie you watched was Jack Black's 2010 family movie, Gulliver's Travels.
I wish.
Can you imagine if I nailed it?
That would have been very funny.
Yeah, so we're just going to try and have a bit of a natural conversation and ask some questions and get talking about movies in general. But maybe some of these questions will help us figure out what other people watched. If you are tuning in for the first time, or you think this is a great or terrible idea, you can give us feedback at bulliedpod@gmail.com. So who wants to ask the first question? What do you guys want to talk about?
When it came to everyone's film that they watched, what was your villain's motivation? My villain motivation was counter-rejection and self-determinism.
What does that mean? This isn't an essay.
It means rejecting the people who rejected them and finding who they are.
$5 words over here.
They rejected the people who rejected them. Yep.
Oh, okay. So
Like a Megamind kind of deal.
if that was the movie, I'm going to be so happy.
It's a story of nurture versus nature, but
Like the Grinch.
Like the Grinch.
like the Grinch. Yeah, I guess. Are you going to elaborate on that or just those two words? Considering a bunch of questions, I'm just going to sow the seeds there.
Okay. My villain wanted to steal a bunch of clams and frame someone else for the crime.
So, for context, we were talking about how specific you should be. And before the podcast, he had said, I was answering all these questions and I was like, man, this is so specific. Everybody's going to get this. But then I took a step back and I realized nobody's going to know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Stole a bunch of clams and what?
And frame someone else for the crime.
Of course, as you do.
Who wants to get caught red clammed it?
The only thing I can possibly get close to is maybe the oysters from Alice in Wonderland, but...
My villain was in it for the views, in it for the ratings.
Wicked Ralph 2.
I was seeing Ray Ralph as well.
No, more capitalism.
Hannah Montana.
Yeah, that's the one.
Like Harley.
I watched all of iCarly.
So for me, it was interesting because both the antagonist and protagonist in this movie had the same motivation, which was to kiss the girl and get the crown. But they both became jerks because of
Interesting.
I get the feeling that none of us have seen John's movie.
the Mario movie.
What is your guys' favorite quote from your movie?
You mind if I save your life? Yeah, go ahead. Rad.
What?
What's my favorite line?
Okay.
Can I just say back to back? 3 quotes?
Sure, if you want.
Choose.
First one has a word that I don't know what words are appropriate to say on this podcast. So I'm going to replace it with a gentler word. Robin wouldn't pee on your gums if your teeth were on fire. Yes, she would. The only thing you've ever cared about is nugs, chilling, and grindage.
What?
So don't tax my gig so hardcore, Cruster.
You look dumbfounded.
My favorite quote was, "When I think of all the sacrifices your father made for you, lamb, oxen, your brother Jerry."
Oh boy, this is gonna be bad.
Kylan?
So I also have words that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. There was one where it was a grandma, and she said the words, "That boy is one mean mother effer." It caught me so off guard. And then the other one is when a potentially dangerous character shows up and somebody yells out, "Jesus Christ!" And then the dangerous character says, "Guess again."
That sounds familiar.
That sounds to me like The Wedding Singer.
I guess you won't know.
Is it The Wedding Singer?
No, it's not.
Okay, I've got a question for you guys. If your movie became a video game,
Would it be good?
I don't need to answer. It exists. It has a 3 out of 10 on Metacritic. It is not good.
So not The Wedding Singer.
No. Do you
The
want
Wedding
like,
Singer video game. Plastic.
do you want to know the style of game it is?
yes.
It's like a Double Dragon style beat 'em up.
My movie also actually has a video game adaptation.
Ooh.
And at first, I thought the protagonist would be a poor fit physically to fight off countless enemies and solve jumping puzzles. But the more I thought about it, he actually does defy the laws of physics regularly, and he would be very physically powerful.
I feel like I need a spreadsheet open of everyone.
Right.
You have something to do with something in a beanstalk?
My movie does not have a beanstalk.
Is your movie Kung Fu Panda?
It is not.
Regarding my film, if a video game had been released at the same time as the movie, it likely would have been a side-scrolling beat-em-up involving maybe jocks and saber-toothed tigers.
What?
Based on the quality of a movie to video game adaptations at the time, it probably would have sucked. My movie, much like the majority here, did have a video game adaptation, and it's not very good.
That's your whole answer?
Tell us about the jocks and saber-toothed tigers. Come on.
My movie video game was all about pushing the product that the movie already tried.
Oh, promotion.
Is your movie RoboCop?
No.
It's very funny knowing what my movie is and hearing RoboCop. I hope you should
It's
know.
not RoboCop. There's no way. Okay, I guess this brings a question around to me. If your main character was replaced by Nicolas Cage, would that affect your movie at all? And would it make it better?
My movie has perfect casting for the protagonist. So perfect that the actor was worried that after they did this movie, they would be typecasted forever and never get to do anything else. The casting is perfect. So Nicolas Cage would be a step down. However, to give you guys a little bit more than that, the main character's best friend was supposed to be played by Danny DeVito, which would have been amazing, but Danny DeVito couldn't, and so he recommended someone else for the part. They're an amazing actor, but they don't really fit it like
Nicolas
Danny
Cage
DeVito would have. They're just fine in the role. And if you had put Nicolas Cage into that role, I don't know if it would be better or worse, but it would be way more memorable. Probably worse.
My movie is interesting because I think it's very intentional who they chose to serve as the protagonist. But one of the reasons why is the mythos of the actor themselves.
What I mean by that is him and Nicolas Cage follow similar role in how they've been in everything. I'm not sure if it would improve or decline. They do have that same kind of capacity behind them that the movie would be able to play up.
Is the person who's been in everything Samuel L. Jackson?
No.
When I thought about Nicolas Cage replacing my protagonist, I was thinking, would it be younger Nicolas Cage or current Nicolas Cage? Either way, he was probably too old for the part.
Okay, if Nicolas Cage was the age of your role.
Well, no. Let him talk more.
Like-
He's giving us a clue.
Okay.
A clue!
Like, read Nicolas Cage's Wikipedia page where I learned that he developed an acting style called Nouveau Shamanic, which involves using your imagination to believe that you're actually the characters that you're playing to get outside of yourself. And Nicolas Cage also went on a quest for the Holy Grail, traveling across the U.S.
What?
That wasn't a clue.
But you listen the whole time looking for one.
I would also say that my main character has a lot of star power, so I don't think Nicolas Cage would be a better fit. I think he could be in this movie, but it wouldn't be the same kind of movie. And I think that this movie shines very well as its current kind.
I've got it. Kylan,
Mm-hmm.
the beat is Neighborhood Ninja.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
You just watched yourself?
Yeah, I love this movie so much. Best movie ever.
Imagine if a random movie generator had our homemade movies on it. For the listeners, we made a movie about 2 years ago where Kai stars as the last surviving member of a ninja clan who just does chores around the neighborhood. All right, Chance, ask another question.
If you were in the protagonist's shoes, would you have succeeded?
Immediate death.
Immediate death.
Within like the first 20 seconds.
Kylan watched Doom.
At the start, I would die. At the second part, I would die. And at the third part, I would die. Even if I had been led up to the place where the main characters were, I would still die. Until right at the end of the film.
When they get their award.
Yeah. It's until they succeed. That's when I would die.
So they're in space.
No, you never specified they're in space.
No, but what's a movie where the entire time he's either got to be underwater where
It leads me to believe it's just a movie where everyone's incredibly violent and he would just die in every encounter.
That is a possibility.
That's why Kylan's is TMNT.
No!
My protagonist does not wear shoes, so I don't think I do very well because I couldn't do everything barefoot.
Wow. That gives away so much.
no, his character, the mom's like, her dad sacrificed an ox and a chicken and your brother Jeremy or something.
Yeah.
And he has these almost powers where he can.
He defies the laws of physics. The bad guy's trying to steal clams. The protagonist never wears shoes.
What is your movie?
And the main character is perfectly cast. Danny DeVito would have been an excellent casting for their best friend.
It's got to be like an animated movie, right?
It's Donkey Kong Country is what he's describing.
Yeah. Would I succeed in their shoes? I think it depends on how you define success. I think my people skills would have helped me navigate those problems, but I've never had such a unique exchange student. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, one was saber-toothed tigers.
In the end, I would have probably tried to strike a balance between duty to science and personal gain. I'd like to think I'd be more honest and talk to a lawyer.
And talk to a lawyer?
Yeah,
He did
I mean,
say
don't pretend into the lawyer part too much.
I will give you guys some free hints.
Hold on, I want to answer that question. I think I would succeed with a protagonist because I think it would be too cool.
No. Get out of here. That is the worst answer. I can't believe you. You can't say I'd be too cool for this.
Alan, do you have an answer? What do you think it is?
No.
So you said future you?
Yep.
So
this
you
involves
would be
kind of
aged up.
time traveler future. You did use the word rad earlier.
So I'll give you a little bit more low-hanging fruit on mine. My protagonist never wears shoes, so that was my fun answer. But would I do better in this situation than the protagonist in my movie? Yes and no. Yes, because the protagonist is an absolute moron and anyone could be smarter than them.
It's
However-
Dougal. It's Dougal. He doesn't wear shoes.
I don't have the exact quote, but somewhere in the movie, someone challenges their diet and they say something along the lines of, well, I'm completely healthy. My dad lived to the age of 35 or something like that. So on one hand, it's easy to say I'm smarter than this person, but also by life expectancy in this movie, I'd be dead by now.
I think it's a movie about animals, right? We've got animal main characters because clams, it's animated, so that would explain the defying physics. Doesn't wear shoes. All of that points to being an animal.
All of this points to it being happy feet.
That moronic penguin.
Clams.
I cannot think of any movie that has to do with clams.
It's RoboCop.
It's Wreck-It Ralph 2.
No, my guess with Dougal was actually right on the money because of the animal main character.
Was yours Grinch, Chance?
No.
Rad?
Time traveling Grinch.
So the question is Chance's movie about somebody specifically who has to be older, right? Like, does it feature an older character and that's mandatory to the plot? Or do they at one point age up? It could also be, these are our characters, they interact, and then halfway through the movie it jumps forwards to now.
Maybe.
Which of the four of us do you think the protagonist most resembles, and why?
The protagonists in my film, it's hard to really describe them outside of their desire to be popular and end up with a romantic interest. So which of the four of us would want that most? I think it's hard to say because I feel like we all like being the center of attention.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think he's just describing my life at the moment.
And you're getting married.
Exactly. I finished the movie now. This is the end of the end credit scene. I'm popular and I'm getting married.
Who did you have to fight to earn the crown?
So at first, when John used the term crown, I was thinking like medieval stuff. Could be like a sports term.
Well, it said grindage, which leads me to believe it's like the skater crown or something like that.
That
I
could
get
also
really
be
heavy in high school competition. Nicolas Cage would be too old
Yes.
for the role.
like
That's
that.
the one that keeps catching me.
In my situation, the protagonist has this kind of like dopey super happiness and just upbeat energy that I could only probably describe to John.
I feel like that's an insult.
You're welcome.
My character, I don't think can be attributed to any real human being on this planet, but at one point in time, the main character does have a pretty nice beard that resembles John's.
I'm the connection.
Yeah. The main character only has a beard at the start and the end of the movie.
Kylan, are you complimenting my beard?
No.
He said he has a really nice beard like John.
Kylan's movie is The Grinch.
John's video game has football players and saber-toothed tigers.
No, yeah, it's the saber-toothed tigers that throws me off. That could be the mascot, but I feel like it's more likely to be a wild, wacky scenario. Yours is so hard, John. Do you think that any of us would know your movie?
Yes, one of you will have seen this movie before.
Actually, that's unfair. Let's make that statement now, all of us. I believe all of you may have seen this movie. At least a majority of you have.
Okay.
I know at least two of you have seen this movie. I presume one of you has.
That means that Kylan watched it with Tim and Chance, and he doesn't know if I've seen it.
What?
Oh.
That's big evidence, except for the fact that we've seen a lot of movies.
True. My movie, it's possible that only one person has seen it, but everyone knows about its existence.
Oh, I have the last question. If your main cast was replaced by fluppies, would your movie be better?
Okay, so my interpretation of this question is that the Fluppy invasion happened when my movie took place.
That's actually a way cooler question. Would your character survive the fluffy invasion?
So Knowing what we know about fluppies, that they're roughly 200 years behind us technologically, we can make the assumption that they're a fairly young civilization. This implies the fluppies that would invade in my movie would be a very different type of fluppy. Different technology or even physical attributes.
Cyberflup 2077.
Yes, I think Tim's trying to imply that it's a period piece. His has to do with not present day.
And if we look back at the wall, the bad guy is trying to get clams. They're all barefoot.
And
And
cavemen.
Is this the Croods or something?
no.
Is it George of the Jungle?
Nope, that's not a period piece.
This is hard.
This is hard. So it's olden days.
Or in the future, all the cyborgs are barefoot.
No,
And collect clams.
have you seen the Aladdin video game Theories? Because there's a stop sign in the desert wastes. So it's actually far in the future. And that's why when the genie
makes pop culture.
Yeah, because he was awake 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's not a theory. That's common fact.
That's his movie.
So if most of my cast was replaced by fluppies, naturally there'd be a lot more criminal activity and world domination. Though the fluppies might have some competition for J.J. Wagstaff's attention.
There's a saber-tooth tiger.
I know that name.
Wagstaff is the character whose name we don't know. Shit.
One of many names, yes. You can say it in a lot of different ways.
J.J. Wavestep. You remember.
JJ Wobstopper.
J.J. Jetski.
I would say that if main characters in this movie were turned into fluppies, the movie would not work because the movie requires the characters be the species that they are.
So they aren't humans. Rad.
Wait a minute.
You know it?
Okay, what do we know? It's a movie about people who reject those who've rejected them.
That's the villain.
He wants to control his own destiny.
Okay.
Syndrome.
They need to be some type of species for this to work.
He is a product.
Yeah, it's selling a product. Would you happen to say that the product is the same reason as the fluppies?
Yes.
Okay, they themselves are a marketable piece.
And they're not human?
Maybe.
They're from the future and they say things like rad.
Well, we don't know if they're from the future.
I mentioned that the main character, the main actor, one of his legacy things is that he's been in everything.
That does not tell us anything.
There was also a video game that I think wasn't that great.
Did you play it?
I did.
Oh, that recontextualizes things.
Wait. Is this Meet the Robinsons?
No.
Oh.
That fits so well.
Wait. That's actually a very good answer.
No, that fits everything. The usage of the term rad, the fact that they're aged up, he rejects the people who rejected him. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, I know. That's why I picked it.
I will give you guys one final hint. This movie is a sequel.
Meet the Robinsons 2.
No.
They're back by popular demand. So actually, I said that earlier. Would your characters survive a fluppy invasion?
I don't think that my characters would survive a fluppy invasion. There's a very symbiotic relationship with animals in my movie.
Yeah, of course, with the clams.
So it implies that they would not be prepared for an aggressor of fluppy magnitude.
My characters probably would survive a fluppy invasion because the movie starts with them surviving an invasion from aliens.
Oh, that's a huge one.
That is brewing.
Yes. I think that so long as they gathered around the new exchange student, he'd be able to hunt the fluppies down.
Yeah, because your exchange student is a saber-tooth hunter. So John's is about a perfectly normal school, but an exchange student shows up, and they're incredibly wacky, and they interact with saber-tooth tigers. Right? That's the most fitting answer so far.
Trying to think of movies I keep gravitating to something like Teen Wolf, but that had Michael J. Fox. Nicolas Cage would not be too old for that.
I don't think just any of the characters could have survived the Fluppy invasion. The main character, though, absolutely would. All the secondary villains might, and the protagonist would.
Okay, I've got a couple quick facts about the movie. Got 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. There's a group dance number.
Just one?
Yes.
So that's like
$7
at the
million
credits.
budget. And it grossed $40.7 million worldwide.
Smells
And
the
Disney
exchange
Plus,
student.
since 2022, Disney Plus is in discussion of bringing back the three main characters for the sequel.
3 main characters. One of them is in
The sequel does not exist yet.
There was a direct-to-TV sequel that was a flop. I will say some quotes the way they were said in the movie. This is my final hint. What is no easy legit fun dodge ho-hos fly bitch Gonzaga's I think he's jive. Make up your melons. Tweets.
Is that Pauly Shore?
What's that?
Is that an impression of Pauly Shore?
It is. Do you know what movie this is?
Okay, wait. There's an exchange student.
It is known as polyspeak, where he pauses between syllables and key adjectives, and he improvised most of his lines for this movie.
Wait. Okay, let's get your hits. There's an exchange student. It's got Pauly Shore. There's saber-toothed tigers. I feel like your movie has Sean Austin.
It does.
I think I know what this movie is.
And your movie has Brendan Fraser.
It does.
I have no idea. I'm just kidding. John's movie is definitely Encino Man.
It is.
Okay, I don't know what this movie is.
I'll explain the premise.
Chance, do you know what Encino Man is?
I don't. So this movie stars Sean Austin, who's most well known for being Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings films. It has Pauly Shore, an actor who kind of went out of existence by the time you guys were old enough. Brendan Fraser, who's known for the Mummy movies. Yep. And it also has another Goonies actor. I don't know how to fully pronounce his name.
But the guy who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's right. Yeah. So the premise of this movie is that 2 teenagers find a caveman frozen in ice in their backyard. Once he thaws, they try and integrate him into their everyday life, hiding his identity and pretending he's an exchange student. One of the teens is excited to have a new friend, while the other wants to use the caveman to rocket to high school fame.
So when you said frown, were you talking like prom cake?
Here's a prom kid. Yeah.
That checks out. So I just searched an image of it, and that is definitely Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, as a caveman.
It's 1992 when the film came out.
I appreciate the Pauly Shore quotes. I wouldn't have got there without them, I don't think.
So I'll date my movie a little bit. It is very 80s. You got leotards and weird workout routines just like right in the middle of it.
Oh, Running Man.
That it is. Oh, I did have a quote that I wanted to use, but it would be so obvious.
That's like 80 quotes from
Yeah, I know, right?
Sub-Zero, now you're just plain zero.
Yeah. You could have given me a little bit more suspension, John.
Okay,
Sorry, Kai, I got excited.
so the jumpsuits gave it away?
Jumpsuits, and then he said workout routines. It's very 80s. I don't know why. Running Man.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What were your other hints? So you know how I said he's the main character and he's just the perfect fit and he's really powerful in comparison. I wanted to make a claim it's like a Rambo character, but I felt like that brought you too close to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, it's Stallone. It's not even the same.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no, now I remember the old lady who comes on stage and wins a prize for picking the gladiator to kill someone.
Mm-hmm. For listeners who haven't seen Running Man, wow, you're not going to let me summarize?
Do it. Do your thing.
So it's in the distant future of like a few years ago.
He's 97 or something.
Yeah, it's in the distant past, and the government controls everything. One guy isn't willing to blow up people in a peaceful protest, and so he gets put into a gladiator fight that's being beamed to live television, where he looks like a criminal. That's basically the full plot. There are a lot of really weird and goofy characters all the way throughout it. There's a guy who shoots electricity out of his fingers and sings opera.
They're Batman villains, but to an Arnold Schwarzenegger power fantasy.
Yeah. And every time Arnold Schwarzenegger kills one of them, he gives a one-liner.
Yeah.
It's really bad every
It
time.
might be the most Arnold one-liners in a movie. So if you are really craving some good Arnold one-liners, it's chock full of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will give you guys some more hints over here. I have a couple more fun quotes, but I don't think they'll help. One person says, "He's smarter than we thought." And the other person says, "He'd have to be to get dressed in the morning."
We're very kind to this protagonist.
The protagonist is in an argument with someone and they say, "I got half a mind." And they said, "Don't flatter yourself."
It's clearly dated to like a really, really long time ago. None of the characters wear shoes. They sacrifice people. They only live 37 years. Things like that.
Someone says to the protagonist, "Gallivanting with a bunch of Neanderthals." And he says, "For your information, the lodge no longer accepts Neanderthals."
The Lodge?
There's a character in this movie who was written for Sharon Stone, but she was unavailable for the role. So someone else played it, but it was so written for Sharon Stone that the character's name is Sharon Stone.
Is this like the Flintstones?
It's the Flintstones!
Yay, I did it!
It's just flat out the Flintstones. I'm so upset. That crossed my mind like 4 times.
So I had 1994's live action The Flintstones. John Goodman plays Fred Flintstone, and he was born for that role. He is amazing and is perfectly cast. However, they did do a sequel years later, and he was very vocal that he never wanted to play Fred Flintstone again because he was so perfectly cast that even before accepting the role, he took a lot of convincing because he was scared that that's all people would see him as. Wilma is played by Elizabeth Perkins, and she does a great job. However, Betty and Barney did not get the same love. Betty is played by Rosie O'Donnell, which she does fine, but she doesn't embody the character like the others do. And Barney, like I said, was supposed to be played by Danny DeVito, which is crazy. I don't even know what that would be, but it does emulate strong Barney vibes. Instead, it was played by Rick Moranis, who we've talked about on this show a ton. Rick Moranis is one of the greats, but the role isn't really his. It's the weakest movie I've seen with Rick Moranis in a long time. But essentially, the movie is about Fred getting a promotion at work so that he can be the scapegoat so other people can steal all of the money. In Flintstone times, money is shells and clams, and they're trying to leave him holding the bag.
So the clams was like an absolute throwaway. Okay, yeah, chances time. It's about a species of characters who are marketable.
Like, there's alien invasions and stuff like Biker Mice from Mars. But he says this is a sequel movie.
This movie also has superheroes in it.
Also, is the main cast not superheroes?
Most of them are. Just like Super Pets or something? Nope. The movie also features at least 3 different songs. You know what? I am going to give you guys
Oh,
the
hint?
arcing of the plot.
Oh, okay.
No, before you do, give us all your clues back. This had a video game,
It did have a video. You didn't think it was very good.
and you played this video game.
Can you
I
give
did.
us what kind of game it is?
Adventure Collectathon.
Okay, that's bigger.
So this is a movie about products who are required to be the species they are, who have something to do with time travel. There are superheroes in the movie, one of which is a member of the main cast. The villains' motivations are rejecting those who rejected them and determining their own life for themselves. I think I wouldn't be able to be the protagonist because I think future me is really
I know what this
cool.
movie is. I know what it
Uh,
is. Is it Lego Movie 2?
It is the Lego Movie 2.
You didn't play Lego Movie 2, the video game.
It's true, and I thought it was very okay.
It's so bad. It is the worst Lego game of all time. That's a fact.
Good.
You can check like every online tier list ever. Bottom. Garbage. Every time.
Wow, I would not have got there.
I'm going to be honest. That wasn't the first time I had thought Lego throughout this. But I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to look like a fool.
Lego. Chance, why don't you walk us through what the Lego Movie 2 is?
The Lego Movie 2 is the continuation of the Lego Movie franchise, which begins with the invasion of Planet Duplo, which is the alien invasion I mentioned. Then the movie continues on as the cast, including Batman, a superhero, goes into space where Emmett, the main character played by Chris Pratt, who's played off to be the joke that he's in absolutely everything, meets a future version of himself, a man who was rejected by his friends and therefore decides to live his life the way he wants by himself. And it is required that the main characters be Lego people because the movie is about pushing the products of Legos.
I do think you could have made a similar joke without Chris Pratt. If you're looking at all of the people who could do it, Nicolas Cage is definitely one of the first answers.
That's what he said. Nicolas Cage and Chris Pratt, they were both had the same mythos in that in his time, Nicolas Cage was in absolutely everything, but now in the modern era, Chris Pratt is in absolutely everything.
Yeah, there's some good hints in there, but I still would have never gotten it.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is still in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's still in everything. But you're right. The joke is that Chris Pratt is in everything.
You think that they would have survived the Fluppy invasion? The Duplo invasion is made not to be a threat.
But the point of the Duplo invasion is that they're also invincible. They can survive anything. I literally wrote down a quote in which Batman throws like 8 batarangs directly at the face of one of these aliens, and he goes, "You missed me," and he goes, "No, I didn't." Or there's a part where it's like, "I eat lasers." It's like, "No, you don't. That doesn't make sense." And that's the joke.
But
That there's the minds of toddlers. So they do.
have you also considered that the main cast is actually just like 3 people? A little girl and some guy? Do you think they could take down a Fluppy invasion?
It's in their
In all
imagination.
fairness, both the protagonist and the future version of the protagonist do have the ability to punch planets in it.
No, the protagonist is some guy playing with Legos and he doesn't like his sister having any.
No, there's an implication that they're playing without him.
Lego Movie 2 doesn't really make sense anymore in comparison to Lego Movie 1.
I think that somehow each of us figured out one movie, which is pretty
Oh, yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, we did.
I'm proud of us. Even if it was pretty psychotic getting there.
Do you think we'll ever do this again?
I don't know.
I cannot imagine this was entertaining to listen to. Us fumbling through these questions.
Well, it might be from an outside perspective going, oh, what's that movie? I feel like I know what that is.
Yeah, I like to think that other people are going to try and figure these out alongside us, but we'll see.
I did want to ask, what did everybody think of their movies? Did you enjoy watching it?
I am a big Lord Miller stan, always have been. And although this movie isn't as funny as the first one, which is undeniably hilarious, the second one does have a lot of really good one-off jokes that are super funny. Batman is super sad the entire movie because he realizes that his entire life is just brooding by himself and he has no friends or family because of it. It's funny. It's good. I liked it.
My movie was better than I remembered it because I'd seen it back in the 90s and not been impressed by it. Like I said, some of the casting was perfect. Some of it is not great. Pebbles and Bam Bam are both played by two sets of twins. And Bam Bam's twins, I guess, were like Swedish kids who didn't speak any English. And it's pretty apparent. I get child actors are tough to come by, especially ones that are that little. But those are bad actors. Like, just find other twins. Yeah, it was better than I thought. It was fun. I really started to appreciate how creative Hanna-Barbera had been in all of their TV shows. You know, like, you take Hanna-Barbera stuff for granted. Imagine being the first person who says, oh, I'm going to make a caveman cartoon back in the 60s when color TV is a new thing. And they're like, oh, they would have to walk their cars everywhere and they'd use a bird for their carburetor or whatever. It's really clever and creative that we don't really give them credit for nowadays. We just stand on their shoulders and copy their stuff. But it was okay. I am fine never seeing it again, but it was nice to see again.
My movie was quite fun. However, I imagine it would be significantly more fun in a group of people like I watched it the first time. There's a lot of long draws of not a lot happening for anybody. You're in it for the funny, goofy interactions Arnold has with all the characters, but you don't get a lot of that in some of the sections of it.
Samwise Gamgee is my favorite character in the Lord of the Rings movies, so I just decided that I really like Sean Astin because of that. It was cool to have those three actors together in a movie. I hadn't seen anything with Pauly Shore since probably before I was 10 years old. I honestly don't have... Was he in the movie?
Yep.
Yeah, Tower of Shield.
Yes.
So anyways, it was cool to see these actors in their younger years. I think it was a fun concept. Brendan Fraser just kind of got to be really goofy and act like a caveman in every scene he was in. I thought there was definitely laughable moments, and some of the quotes were just unreal. Like, they were so silly. So that was fun. I had a good time. I enjoyed the movie from start to finish.
Just to shift gears a little bit here, the inspiration for this random movie episode came from Titan AE last season. And, well, that was one of my favorite episodes in season 2. It was tough because the audio quality on that episode was definitely the worst one that we've had. But I have some new tech now and some new experience in various ways. So by the time this episode goes live, I will have reposted that episode with better audio quality, and I'll have cleaned it up a little bit.
And so I will say it is significantly better from what I've heard.
So if you want to give that one a second listen, feel free to do so. Also, I'll attach a question to this episode that if anyone has any ideas, any listeners out there, of which episode they'd like me to go back and clean up the audio on next, I can certainly take a swing at those things. Next episode, we're hoping to record Three Ninjas with Eric. We'll see how that goes. If it doesn't end up being Three Ninjas, it'll be too late to stop this from being in the recording. We'll get there eventually.
Sorry, I just realized something. Praise Beethoven. Continue.
Does anyone have anything they want to say or sign off with?
Adventure, Jamie. Adventure.
Yeah, it was a fun experiment. I might throw a poll on this episode too, asking people what they think, if they'd like us to do this kind of thing again. It's a little less chaotic than Fast and Furious 35 was, but it was...
And I don't hate myself afterwards.
Yeah, I had a good time here. So,
okay, that's good.
it was a little bit of a fun deduction game. So, yeah.
Yeah, different than our usual for sure.
You are right, though. It is way harder to guess than you would ever imagine. You could give away like 90% of the information about your movie and it would be nothing.
Yeah, there's too many movies on Earth. It's so hard. I hit stop on the recording, but Kai told me I didn't say look out for weirdos yet. So
Look out for weirdos.
Yippee!